to answer your questions. So, and put in your questions if you've got any, or any comments. We will certainly address those. Don't forget to let StreamYard use your name so it doesn't come up as on the program that we're using to go live. It doesn't come up with Facebook user. We can actually address your details. So if you can do that, that would be fantastic. And don't forget to put in, we'd love to know what you're having for lunch right now as you join us on Lunch and Learn. And then we're going to get started. Stay to the end so that we can do a shout out for your business. But as I said, you need to stay right on to the very end to be able to participate. If you are on the replay, please feel free to write replay, and either Jane or myself will go through over the course of the next week. And if you've got any questions that you have put over the replay, we'll go in and answer if we can. I'm sure Jane will be able to. So last call. Carolyn Smith, you've got bean soup. Very nice. Very nice indeed. Sounds delicious. Love a soup on a cold day. Rightio. It is 25 to, so we're ready to rock and roll. So I hope you are too, Jane. So on today's Lunch and Learn, we have Jane Zeeher with us. Now, Jane has a plethora of knowledge when it comes to talking about health and the health benefits of being able to support people in their health quest and their health journey, as well as their well-being. And it's about the absence of disease and the benefits of really looking at a personalised approach to your own well-being. So Jane is joining us today to share some of that information with us and hopefully be able to answer some of those questions for us too. So welcome, Jane.
Thank you, Lee. Glad we got here with, and I can hear you.
Thank goodness, yes. A bit of a malfunction, a little malfunction there, which was a bit crazy. So I'm going to start off with one of the questions that we probably all ask ourselves, but what I'm going to ask you is, what actually does health mean for you?
So for me, as you said, health is not just the absence of disease. Obviously, as we age, we can't expect our bodies to necessarily perform in exactly the same way that it did when we were younger. But I think it is all about that. It's all about function. It's all about, you know, do I have a physical body that's going to enable me to do the things that I want it to do? Do I have the kind of mental capacity to continue to be adventurous and curious and explore and keep on asking my body to do things that maybe it hasn't done before, or continue doing the things that it has been doing? And do I have that kind of spirit sense that is connected and I feel part of the whole human race? So it's so much bigger than a measurement done on a thermometer, or, you know, some results for some blood tests and things like that. You know, you see people like Nick Vujicic, I think his name is, who's the motivational speaker. He's born without arms, he's born without legs, and yet, you know, for me, he kind of embodies what you can do with your mind and your spirit to be incredibly healthy and convey that to others as, you know, as what healthy actually really looks at. So there's the whole saying about garbage in, garbage out. That doesn't just apply to nutritional elements. It also applies to things like the movies you watch, the books you read, the people you hang around with, the things we tell ourselves. We've got our DNA involved in there, obviously. So there are some things we can control and impact, and there are some things that we can't. There's also, if you believe this, and I do, there's also some, you know, potentially some ancestral influences. So there may be some actual hangovers from past lives. Having trained as a kinesiologist, I know that definitely there can be injunctions that we have put on ourselves and carried through from previous lifetimes. So yeah, it's not as simple as taking a multivitamin.
No, you're absolutely correct, and it's interesting because I love my family, but I have come from a background of the glass has been half empty background, and I think it's the era that my parents are at, and a lot of parents come from that half glass empty. So I have to catch myself a lot of the times,
yeah,
you know, looking at the negative. And my dad, God bless him, he's 76. He's got, you know, back problems and leg problems. And then he went out and he's just had a big fall on the weekend and torn ligaments. And my mum goes, oh, yeah, you know, your dad's just always like that. It's always going to happen to dad. And that's the mentality. So you're absolutely right. It's not about a vitamin. It's not about a pill. It's about a holistic approach to every single part. And mindset is huge, because if I go down that rabbit hole of, oh, woe is me, I find it really, really hard to get out. So
yeah, and you stop looking for solutions and options, don't you? Once you go into that rabbit hole. So I think that's I think that's a massive part of it.
Yeah, you don't see any solutions. All you see is the problem, and then you go looking for more problems to validate how you feel, which is even worse. It makes it even worse, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and definitely, I think that's a critical one. It's having Brene Brown talks about having your postage stamp of people in your life that you can go to, who are the ones who will pull you up. They'll call you on your on your BS, or they'll say, come on, snap out of it. Or if they know that that's your process, that you just need to wallow temporarily, then at least they can say, well, that's it, you've had enough now, you've wallowed, come on, get on with it. So I think that's important. And
you touch on a point there too, that you do have to allow yourself to have that time of woe is me, because we're not all in a Pollyanna world. And there might be some people on here that haven't heard of Pollyanna. They might be too young. But I remember watching Pollyanna. But, you know, we don't live in that Pollyanna world. We don't live in that world where we skip down and, you know, smell the roses and, you know, there's a golden paved path for us. We do have to take the time and acknowledge that, things aren't exactly right at the moment, but we can't wallow in that pity party.
No, exactly. And so, so those loving mirrors are incredibly important. The people who reflect back to you the things that you need to hear right here, right now.
Yes, absolutely. So you can hear the passion, and you know, I've heard you speak on many occasions about health and well-being. So what makes you so passionate about people taking responsibility for their own health, which is a huge, huge thing?
Yeah, it is. And I think, you know, when we think about how we grow up, and I'm sure you grew up the same way, Lisa, it sounds like it, whoops. You know, there's something wrong, we'll go to the doctor. You know, we're not quite certain what that is, or we'll go to the doctor. They know all the answers. And we grow up with that authority figure there as being the only solution. So it's not until something happens that you probably go and look outside that realm. You might meet someone who has information that you weren't ready for, or you weren't, you know, privy to before that. But why I became really passionate, I'd learned a lot about nutrition from probably the late 80s on. And then my dad was in the UK, and he got breast cancer, which was really strange. You know, not many men get breast cancer. But then he also had this thing going on with his head was subsiding. And I kept saying, are you sure they're not related? Oh, no, let's try general neuralgia. Now, you know, I know now that was definitely a secondary. Breast cancer typically secondarily goes to the brain. He had a tumor in there, caving in. He was horribly mismanaged. Now, that was in the UK. And they went along with the orthodox way of being and doing things. And so for me, it was like, he didn't have the knowledge and information to really be able to help take care of himself. But the other part about that is healthcare in the conventional sense of the word is incredibly expensive. And we know that our age group, the baby boomers and some of the late Gen Xers, you know, we're all going to be getting decrepit at the same time. And that's going to put a massive burden on our health system. So I think, you know, socially it's responsible to be the one who says, well, okay, you know, I'm going to do my utmost to make sure that I don't need blood pressure medication, that I don't need blood sugar regulation, that I can manage, and I don't need arthritis, knee operations, or whatever it is that you're looking to head into. Let's just make sure that we can stave them off for as long as possible. And life's about living. I'm not asking people to, you know, eat a lettuce leaf and you know, never never sip a glass of wine again. I think, you know, we absolutely have to own our own choices. But I think that I mean, there's a little saying, isn't there? Happiness is someone to blame. And so it's really convenient to blame somebody else or hand our power over, which is what we've done all our lives with doctors. But I can't think of another area of our lives that we so readily hand our power over and assume somebody knows better about us than we do. So for me, it's just like it's a no-brainer that we need to do that. And look, you know, I don't get everything right. Certainly, I absolutely make bad choices, but I own those choices, and I'm prepared to go, oh, of course, everything hurts today. I had all that wine and all that chocolate yesterday. You know, so,
Yeah.
you know, it's not about being perfect. It's about being as responsible as we can be and being armed with information to be able to make smarter choices. And part of that is actually understanding ourselves.
One thing you touched on was, you know, we're all going to be aging at that sort of time. It could put a burden on the healthcare system. Well, right now, the healthcare system can't afford to have those burdens. And I was reading, I was listening to a doctor talking, and he was saying that there's a lot of people that aren't managing their health at the moment because they are too scared to go out. Well, they need to be managing their health, which means, you know, going out for those regular walks, getting out into vitamin D, making sure that they're eating well and practicing, you know, just even for diabetes sort of management.
Yeah. And I think there's also what's been shown is also that there are people who are avoiding going into hospitals for tests to confirm things that they may be feeling niggled by. And, you know, whenever there's a level of fear that ranks up, people start to get doubting about themselves. They start to doubt that they're understanding that, you know, something is going wrong, or they think it is, and then they worry. And as you said before, that feeds that fear that then makes that problem bigger. And it could be that, you know, they just need some more water and some more fiber, and then they'll go to the toilet and the pain will stop. But it could be that, yeah, there's something actually going on in their bowel and they need to actually get it investigated. So I think our parents' generation definitely were that generation that said, oh, I don't want to bother anyone, you know, I won't, you know. And at the moment, when they're seeing that there is a pressure on our health system, yeah, they're going to be saying, I don't want to bother anyone, so I won't go. But, you know, there are other people you can reach out to. Then there are teleconferences and telehealth sessions you can do. If there's any questions, then absolutely, that's being responsible.
Well, I know this year, I think it was late last year. It might have been earlier this year. I can't remember now. Because this year, I don't know, I've lost my sense of timing.
I don't know what day of the week it is.
I do know it's Tuesday, but whenever it was, I'll say in the last 6 months, because I can't actually remember. But I found a lump in my breast, and my mum's gone through breast cancer, and, you know, everything that went with that was fear. And so I didn't do anything for months. I just, you know, check it again. Oh, God, it's still there. And this whole fear around, I really need to go and have it checked. And so sometimes we avoid doing things for the fear of what we're going to find out. By the way, I did have it checked and it was nothing. But that whole process, just, you know, it was huge because of carrying of what my mum went through. And it's the same with, it doesn't have to be, you know, a lump on the breast. It can be any sort of thing that it's the fear of finding out. You know, sometimes we like to be that ostrich, don't we? Head in the sand.
We certainly do, Lee. And look, I completely empathise with that. At 17, I actually had a lump taken out of my breast, and because it wasn't going away, and I had a nurse sit there and tell me that just because you're 17 doesn't mean it can't be cancer. So I completely understand, and that does make you then reluctant to find out. But as far as I'm concerned, knowledge becomes power, and once you, and it's not just knowing what your options are, it's actually understanding your body and feeling into it. So I trained as a kinesiologist, but I've also come through I've worked in the pharmaceutical industry, and I've worked in the natural medicine industry. as a rep, and I saw the way that protocols just got handed out and scripts get handed out, and there's no overarching looking at something, and there's not a lot of respect, I don't think, for the actual patient's point of view from a lot of, certainly the medical profession. And I'm not slamming them all and saying they're all bad, a lot of them are great people, but it's just like, get in, get out, let's move it on. And when I think about a lot of the naturopathic practitioners, I'll say in particular, and chiropractors to a certain extent, they create this dependency, which is no different, I don't think, than and this, again, I don't mean to slam anybody's profession, but I'm just saying, be aware. That's what there was alarm bells that went off for me when I was working with naturopaths and chiropractors. And they're following protocols. They're following, this is the way things happen. Whereas if you're a practitioner who is actually testing people as you go, and I'm not just talking blood tests and things like that and blood pressure, but there are ways of testing. There's many people who use things like Vega and Moira, Nate, kinesiology testing of one form or another to actually get feedback from the body.
Is that where you push down? Is that?
It can be, yeah. So there are machines that actually can give you what is called biofeedback. So that muscle test, yes, is a form of biofeedback. So it's just a checking in with what the body is wanting, or it's stressed by. And so when we know that the body is blocked in an area, so just to take a step back, health, what you see today in terms of your health is a consequence of a whole load of stuff that's gone on way before. So we get sick in our kind of energetic body way before we get sick in our physical body. And the beauty of testing energetically is it picks things up ahead of it manifesting in the physical sense. So when you go and see a beautiful kinesiologist, for example, Amanda Kate, then she's going to look at testing you up for all sorts of different things. And personally, I've always found that when you test people up, it doesn't matter. We talked about mindset before. It doesn't matter how much conscious work you do, how much you look at looking after yourself from a nutritional point of view. If your emotional well-being is not actually cleared and looked after, you are going to, at an unconscious level, stop yourself from being as healthy as you can be. We all have had times when I know I need to go to bed earlier than I do. And, when I'm being really responsible, I go to bed earlier. I know I need to drink more water than I do. And when I'm being responsible, I drink more water. So there's that conscious stuff. But what's stopping me? When I know that that's what I need to be doing, what's stopping me? Is it just a habit? Or is it that there is some block there to being the best version of myself that I'm not necessarily aware of? So that's the kind of area I'm finding really fascinating at the moment, and trying to help people tune in to. I was talking to a naturopathic friend of mine on the weekend, and she was saying, she's trying this diet now. And I just said, come on, Ginny, you know that you should just be tuning in and feeling what are the things that you should be eating that are supporting you right now. It's not good or bad. It's just supportive or less supportive. And I think that's the thing. When we start to learn to trust our body, that's been the biggest thing for me over the last 12 months, is learning to trust that the messages that I get are real, and they are the things that I need to pay attention to support myself in being the best version of myself, and likewise with other people. I'm finding that so teaching people to be able to do that is really exciting, I think.
Absolutely. I know that with ISO life, I haven't been stretching as enough, and I can feel that my joints are starting to, because I'm at that age that you start to get that they're not as loose as they used to be. So I know that, I'm doing my walking, but I need to be stretching as well. I need to be probably moving more than I am, because I've been spending more time at the computer, spending more time working. So it's about listening to your body to say, I really do need to go to bed now, because I do need that sleep. I do need that glass of water. I do need that stretch. I'm going to call out to those that are on our live stream that if you've got any questions or you'd like to make any points, then please feel free to pop those into the comments. So Pauline has said that one of her doctors uses the pulse method. So
I'm not certain what type of doctor she's talking about there. Certainly Chinese medical practitioners use pulsing. They have a means of testing along the wrist, the pulses, and it's not just the how fast your heart rate is. It gives you information depending upon what type of pulse. So it's an energetic pulse. So they're listening for things that are what they call reedy or thin or strong, and it's how high it is or how deep it is. So that gives the doctor of Chinese medicine a lot of information about what organ in the Chinese system is involved. So as far as using the pulse beyond that, they're the only two I know about, but I'm happy for you to enlighten me further, Pauline.
Yes. And Caroline Smith has swiftly put in that I could be attending her Zoom stretching classes. So unfortunately, I have other commitments on a Friday at noon, but I could always try and change some. So that's excellent. Yeah. So feel free to add any comments or questions that you may have as we're going along. So, Jane, this is a pretty crowded sort of marketplace when you start to talk about health. So why would someone look to, and I'm not being rude, but how would someone look to working with you?
And you know, I think that's it's a very fair question. There's lots of health practitioners in this group of one kind or another. And the thing I would always say is, come to me because I don't have all the answers, which is kind of contrary to what most people would think. Like I said, my interest is in, there's a fishing term, you know, catch and release. I'm not interested in creating someone who depends on me for their answers. I want to help people understand how they can help themselves. And that comes down to, again, increasing their level of knowledge around their own intuition. I do work with an energetic product that actually helps. So that can train them to a point where they start to cue up, oh, yeah, I get that when I do that, I feel better. And they'll actually start to understand their body. So it's about that. It's about leaning into that trust. You know, some people who need an energy boost now, sure, we can give them physical products. But I think, and they may choose to stay on that. And then it comes back to tuning in. It's about understanding how my body responds to this, because every single body responds differently, which is why I don't know if people know, but I used to work for Metagenics, which is one of the biggest natural medicine companies in the world, actually. And I remember, you know, going and as a non-naturopath, going to naturopaths and saying, oh, if you get somebody with Crohn's disease, then this is your protocol, kind of thing. And I thought that's incredibly disrespectful for people who've done an awful lot of training, but B, it becomes this recipe by which, if they can't step outside that framework and get the client to understand how they're responding to something, then, you know, they're not really being of service. The other part of why me is because I enjoy and I encourage working collaboratively with people. So like I mentioned Amanda Kate, you know, she's a kinesiologist, she does great work. You know, Carolyn's got all her physical stuff. There are people who have got great nutritional knowledge, probably better than, you know, certainly better than mine, I'm sure. And so if there's somebody who's got something going on that they can't resolve, yeah, absolutely, I'm happy to work with somebody else. But where I see me coming in is I can actually help with some of the tools that I have to, like I said, get back in touch with themselves and clear some of those blocks that they're just not aware of. And I've done NLP, I'm not using it with that. It's this energetic means gets underneath, it gets straight into the subconscious and helps peel back the layers of the onion that are getting in the way of them, being able to uptake nutrients or push on through and achieve something that they haven't been doing. So it's some fascinating technologies out there. I seem to love to take on new technology. That's that's the other thing with me. It's like, oh, don't give me simple. Don't give me simple. Let me bash my head against a brick wall for a while and and break ground with these things.
Always the student.
Yeah, not just as a student, but yeah. But I mean, I like looking at what the new developments are when it comes to health. I was working with epigenetics, sort of 13, 14 years ago when most people hadn't heard about it. So of being someone who has happened to have been in the right place at the right time and heard things. So, yeah.
So when you're talking about these energies and working with that, and if you do this, this will give me an example.
Okay, so there was a woman who showed up. She's not one of my clients, but this is an example that I heard of, and I think it's a really good, strong illustration of one. So this woman presented with all the symptoms of scurvy. All right. Don't see scurvy these days, and it comes from a lack of vitamin C. It's the thing that sailors used to get on ships when they didn't have any fresh fruit and vegetables. So scurvy was showing up. Check of her diet showed she had more than enough vitamin C intake. When the energetic information was sent to her subconscious, that you don't have to even know what it is. This is. I mean, I'm getting a bit woo now. I get that, but she. By biofeedback, her body showed that it needed XYZ pieces of information energetically, which then got sent and received by her. And lo and behold, all of a sudden, her body could actually absorb and utilize the vitamin C that it was being given. So it's not enough just to take in something. You have to be able to assimilate it and utilize it in your body. And this is what...
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. You're talking to a person that is not super woo-woo.
Yeah.
How does that energy get to her?
Right. Here's where
I'm the sort of person, I know I'm the sort of person that I know the light turns on, but I want to know how it gets there.
Yeah. And that is a challenge for us.
You might not be able to answer that.
No,
yeah.
and honestly, I can't completely answer that. But what I can do is say, you know how okay, here's a little example from my own past. I had a baby who didn't sleep and he was driving me mad. And my husband and I were really not working out very well at all. And this baby was by now he's probably about 9 months old. And I was about to go back to work and I was frantic. And we went and saw a counsellor, and the counsellor just discussed with us the idea that we would not let this baby cry any longer. We were just, as in, we weren't going to get up to it. We were going to let it cry, let it, work out, but we weren't going to get up for it. My son was in the room with us in a little carry cot. That night he went to bed and he went to sleep and he didn't wake up. And it's almost like he got that energetically everything had changed. Now, a 9-month-old baby doesn't cognitively hear, Mum and Dad are not going to get up for you anymore. Game's over. It's all shifted. The energy shifts. So there was an agreement between us that we were going to do something different. We didn't actually need to do that different thing because that energy shifted and he changed. That's how energy works. We're all part of the matrix. Yeah. And it is hard. It is really hard to explain. Yeah. I mean, I thought ASEA was hard to explain to people. You try explaining energy and then you try talking about how people can suddenly get in touch with their guides. It's it's very
I'm not to that level yet, but I do understand energy to some extent.
Well, look at tapping. Look what tapping did for you.
Yes, I did tapping, and I was just about to say, tapping gets you to rethink the way that you normally think and go back to all that stuff. And I can't explain it as well as Carolyn Dawson, but that is working on energy, obviously, which is really good. So I'm going to open some more questions while we continue to talk with Jane. So obviously, this is a passionate area for you, and you've looked at different protocols and different types of means. So just share, say, one or two, because I know that you've basically got, for want of a better word, a really good toolbox to be able to pull like kinesiology, or you spoke about ASEA. Just maybe touch on one or two for us of what you use.
Okay. So yes, ASEA is something that people I think have started to become aware of, and where I think ASEA fits is that it is a bit like the foundation when you build a house. So our body, as we age, loses its ability to generate what are called redox signaling molecules, which what we know now about those is that they activate our immune system to the point that that's a bit like going out and scavenging around and finding out where there are cells that are not functioning as they should be. And then it can either work out whether that cell is so badly damaged that it needs to be destroyed, or whether it can be healed. And then if fixing it is in the mix, then it will call in the nutrients and the necessary bits and pieces of the body to help fix it. Then it also actually helps to activate any antioxidants that you're taking. So for me, ASEA is my physical product, if you like. It actually underpins everybody's functioning from a physiological point of view. My energetic product is one that
and choose any one that you want out of those.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about something called Olympic Arc, and it's a product that it's only been going for a short while, but it comes out of a very long heritage. The genius who developed it, because they're all geniuses, aren't they, who develop these weird things.
Yes.
He's been doing work for a long time in this area, for like 40 years in the energy medicine area. And he has worked out, and again, I have no idea. I have no idea how blooming mobile phone works. I just know that it does. He has worked out that by speaking into a computer and following a blob around, it will give information, and I'm going to say the cloud, because it's kind of like the cloud, but it's not. It's the whole energetic cloud that will make a statement about where you are at right now and what your body needs. So for me, as a kinesiologist trained, I know that all I am doing by muscle testing you right now is in response to a goal that we have set, and your body is giving me feedback about what it needs to help meet that goal. So with what's called a spark scan, you basically are talking about the goal to some extent, or not. That's debatable. And then you receive back packets of information in this energetic form. Now, it's one of those things that there's going to be a bit of a leap of faith, but I let people trial it for a month, and then if they think that it's something that's going to work for them, then they can take it on for themselves. It's not everybody's cup of tea, and that's one of the things I think as a practitioner you kind of have to accept, that you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I love being able to see the difference that occurs, and so that people can then go, oh, look, I really never thought that would work, and it does. So this limbic arc thing is it's new. It's very new, and I'm still learning about it. But there are some devices out there that people are selling, which you can wear, and they work on frequency, which a lot of energy practitioners will talk about frequency. What I'm working with is different, because it's packets of energy. And I'll give you a kind of analogy. I was talking to somebody recently whose son is working. He's a immunology student at Melbourne University, and he is in a trial for a vaccine for the COVID-19. But it's not a trial using a virus. It's a trial where they've used nanoparticles to mimic and create the signature of the virus. So the body thinks it's a virus, and that's the theory anyway. So this energetic information is the energetic signature of the thing that your body needs. Now, where I'm finding that useful and hopeful for people is people who are challenged by the whole 5G rollout, and they're really worried about it. And there's not a lot of stuff around that actually helps your body combat the effects of 5G. So for people who are, anxious, and we know then fear makes your immune system work less efficiently. So why not let's eliminate that fear? So I don't know, look, it might be placebo, Lee, who knows? But if it works, then it works.
Absolutely. Yes. Now, speak of the angel. We have Caroline. I always want to say Jane Dawson. Carolyn Dawson has just jumped into our live, and she said, "Hi Jane, sorry, I've only just joined the call. I've used biofeedback systems before over the years and find them to be very accurate. Which system do you use?"
Okay, so there it is there. Like I was saying, Carolyn, this is a system that you do a voice scan and you do a cognitive scan on the computer, and it's called Limbic Arc, and it then sets up a packet of information that gets sent to you as an individual. So there's no not like a Vega or Moira or any of those machines where you touch a pad and then it will say, "Ooh, you've got this, you're off the scale charts for this," or it will give you a when you then, like, some people will use things like they'll put hair in a test tube and then they'll test against it, or they'll then put remedies on and see what the difference is in terms of that's a frequency match one. So does that work? Does it not? Does it combat it? Does it not? This is, as I said, really out there, and I'm just finding that people, I'm looking at testimonials and people are finding that they're definitely having differences in how their body functions, and that for me is what it's all about. I don't really care if it, how it works, as long as it does work and you feel the difference. That's the thing. If you don't feel the difference, stop doing it. Although,
now, please don't laugh at me. How do you get the packages of the email? Is it in an email, or how do you get the packages?
Sorry. They know that's fine. It's exactly the same as I was saying about my son Sam getting the information. Things shift and energy changes. So the packets of I know. I'm finding it, or it sounds almost unbelievable myself, which is why it took me probably about 4 months to actually get on board with it as a concept, as something I could actually endorse, because I was like, oh, I can't get this. I really can't get this. But it's exactly the same as you're speaking in your home in Aspendale Gardens, and it's all coming through the ether, and I'm sitting here in Parkdale, and it's all coming through the ether, and we're seeing it all over the place on the internet. I don't know how the internet works. Do you know how the internet works? Because it's all...
Yeah, I do a bit, yeah.
But it's converted into some form of wavelength, and then it flies out and gets converted and comes back into another form. So energy is just like that. So the energetic information of a thing. Okay, so let's think of another thing. Homeopathy. Okay, homeopathy is where you've taken the energetic signature of something and you've distilled it down, so there's nothing of the actual product itself. There's just the energetic imprint, and then it is used to combat that. So that's an energetic signature, and again, that's a frequency nullifying effect. When you take information signatures and pass them through, they go straight through into the unconscious brain, which is why it's called limbic arc, because it goes into that kind of limbic primitive version of the brain, and things start to change. I don't know. I wish I did know, because I'm like you, and that's why it hamstrung me for so long. But in the end, I had to go to, does this feel like it has integrity and it could work and it could benefit people? And I wrangled with it, and I went, you know what, it does, and people are getting effects. So there's something going on.
We'll talk after. So Pauline has asked, is this electromagnetic field therapy, which I think you've answered that
no,
it's not. And Kay has asked, is it Healy system?
No. So Healy is a frequency matching system. It's not that.
Yeah, excellent. Rightio. Now, I know that people, if they want to get hold of you, Jane, that you have a Facebook group. This is a really long, sorry, I didn't get time to shorten it, but it's facebook.com/finding your fabulous.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I'm actually just, I haven't been supporting that group as much as, it's not a group, that's a page. So
a page.
I've got a group called Radically You, which I am keeping just to women. And so if people want to come and find out a little bit more about me and what I'm doing, then Radically You is my group that's probably, it's more active and a bit more out there.
Let me take that one down.
That's my fault.
Let me take that one down and let's put in a new one so that everybody can see it. And also, if you want more information too, Jane is also a leader at for Connect Her. So you can also link up with you through Connect Her as well.
We certainly can.
If you don't find it, I'm just going to add that banner. It's a FB group. Is that correct? It's a group.
Yeah, I can send it through to you.
Yeah, Radically You. So, and it's probably easier just to put into Facebook, search Radically You. So I'm also am going to thank you, Jane, because also I know that you said that you had a free health tracker that you were going to give out to anybody that connected with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the first step in really getting in touch with your body is how to start to pay attention. Follow that for 7 days and you'll be surprised.
Yes, exactly. So you can, Jane's got an offer of a free health tracker, which lasts for 7 days. So you'll be able to track your health, because as I said, I've just been feeling with this lockdown that I haven't been moving as much. I've been definitely walking and making sure that I keep up my steps, but I've been hunched over the laptop. I've been on Zoom calls, I've been on phone calls. I seem to have been on the computer so much more that I'm really feeling, mainly for me, it's sort of in my hips and my knees that I get that real ache. And it's my body telling me that, get off your butt and go out and do some stretches and do some movements. So listen to our body, listen to what we are telling ourselves, which is really important. And if you do want to get in contact with Jane, please make sure that you head over to her Facebook group, which is Radically You.
Yeah, I've just got the link up there.
Excellent. Jane, I want to thank you so much for all your information. You've got me thinking, my whole mind's going, oh my God, I've just got into, tapping and the energy there. And now you've come out with a whole lot of other stuff that you've got me intrigued. So we're definitely going to have a conversation, that's for sure. So thank you very much for joining us today. And
thank you for having me.
It's been fantastic. So thank you.
Yeah. It's really good to be interviewed by an interviewer because I'm normally sitting in your seat.
Yes, we both have our backgrounds in radio, so on the same station, no less.